Wisconsin Rapids Common Council, calling it to order at 6:00 p.m. Item number 2, roll call. We'll start with Mr. Eichstead.
Joe Eichstead, City Engineer.
Derek Budsberg, wastewater.
Paul Vollert, Public Works Superintendent.
Ryan Austin, District 1 Alderman.
Dean Veneman, District 2 Alderman.
Justin Lewis, District 3 Alderman.
Jeff Benscover, District 4 Alderman.
Matt Zacher, Mayor.
Jake Catton, District 5 Alderman.
Dennis Pollock, 6th Ward Alderman.
Patrick Delaney, District 7.
Madeline Palmquist, District 8.
Jake Klingforth, Parks and Building Superintendent.
Todd Eckes, Fire Chief.
Dan Hostins, Police Chief.
Tim DeSource, Finance Director.
Thank you. This is Thursday, November 14th, 2024. Item 3, public hearing on the 2025 City of Wisconsin Rapids proposed budget. I'm going to have a public hearing. I'm going to open this up now at 6:01. And I open the floor to anyone from the public who would like to speak on the budget. And if you could, please step forward, make sure the yellow-green light is on the mic. State your name and your address would be appreciated. And we are looking at 3 minutes, just in case we're running out of time. I'm kind of looking at a 3-minute time limit that I'm kind of watching over. We'll go from there, so. All right.
Can I get other people to give me their 3 minutes?
Sure.
All right, good. Oh, I promise I'm not going to try to
Okay.
keep too long.
You're good.
Okay, my name's Tim Kriz, and I am the president of the board of the Southwood County Humane Society. I spoke on Tuesday. I'm not going to repeat a lot of that stuff. If anybody wants to see it, they can go watch the video. I do want to address some other things tonight with a few more points of things that came up at that meeting and in between. First off, a lot of this, like this statement of that we're angry that we're not potentially going to get any money from the city and that we won't have a contract. That, wrong. I'm sorry, that's not. There's a lot of other animals out there. If we don't have your 400 animals, on our new pay for animal system, the Humane Society is going to survive. We just move a different direction. The ones who are going to suffer out of this will be the animals and the citizens of this city who I believe expect to have these strays picked up. There was a comment at one of the meetings that, well, we can go 1 or 2 months without it. Do you want to have 30 to 60 animals running around loose in the city for 2 months? Do you really think the citizens want that? I highly doubt it, but if that's okay. And all we're asking out of it is, like I said, somebody give up $4.22 a resident for a year of our service. As I keep saying, that's not even a Starbucks coffee. Certainly you can afford that. The next point I wanted to bring up is, we wanted to bring up, but we couldn't at the last meeting, I guess, for some reason we were cut off, but I want you to know that it's not about the money. Without a contract, we can't take your animals. Those are the city's animals. As soon as they are found and located, they become the property, temporary property of the city. So they're your animals. If you don't sign a contract, we are not authorized to take them or provide medical treatment. We are not an authorized agent anymore. Our insurance won't pay for that. No vet will do that. I think you're going to hear from one of the ladies at the vet places. They won't allow anything like that. You have to be an authorized agent. So where you're going to put 400 animals, I hope you got something in mind. I want you to know too that per state statute and your ordinance, these animals can only be turned over for impoundment to an officer or a humane society. So, in my opinion, the $25,000 bidding can only go to humane societies. You cannot go private. That's against the law. You can probably check with your city attorney on that, but the law is pretty clear on that. And last year, I know some of you or whoever reached out to other humane societies. They're not going to take you up on your offer. I'll tell you that right now. That ain't going to happen. They're all full. I already called and talked to all of them in our area. There's no way they can get anything. In fact, those would be the animals we would get if you don't want to contract with us. Then I hear no other cities our size pay as much. I think if anybody read the Wisconsin Rapids Tribune article, you would see that one city, Stevens Point, very close to us, pays $72,000. But we also don't know what services do they get for that $72,000. Supposedly, Southwood County is the Cadillac. So I guess you're probably getting less service. The other one, and this will be interesting, is our sister city, kind of, if you call it, Marshfield. This is a different example, and it's kind of an example of what happens when you cherry pick data. Now, if you would ask there, call it the shelter, and find out, they would tell you, that's his maps, by the way, Madison area, excuse me, the shelter, the city budget $17,500. That's all the city pays for that service, or budgets for it. However, if you ask, well, what else do you get here? Oh, actually, it's $86,000 this year they're getting. So Marshfield is paying quite a bit more than you are. And you know, I don't know why. Oh, and by the way, their projected budget next year, $119,000. If you think I'm not telling you the truth, go look on the website, look at the budget. It's line item 52130, which is for humane manner of and monitoring and controlling animals. I don't know why they do that, but you know the reason why is because Marshfield provides 2 humane officers. And they work at the shelter, basically. They do all their transport, they do all their medical. I think the police would like that the police don't have to pick up the animals. Maybe the chief would like that, I don't know. But that's why it's so much, because there's more service. So you have to ask and find what's a total picture. You can't just cherry pick and say, okay, what do you charge for this? Or, okay, just strays. How much for a stray? Well, there's more than just strays. You have to take everything into account. I got too many notes here, sorry. So this is one of the reasons that it's kind of this cherry picking stuff doesn't work out. All we would have needed to do was contact neighboring places right here, 30, 40 minutes away, and you would have got the truth instead of going all over the state somewhere. And I just am wondering if, from some of the comments I heard here, that the council members in those 2 cities, I don't know if they consider themselves stupid, insane, or ridiculous for authorizing that amount of money. I would hope not, but that just doesn't make sense to me. Now I also heard it's hard to make a decision to have a contract with us on if you don't have our shelter budget. Are you serious? What? Come on. And this is similar to, we're contributing to a nonprofit. You're not contributing to a nonprofit. First and foremost, you have to realize that we are a business. Whether we are for-profit or nonprofit is irrelevant. It has nothing to do with anything. We are a business. We provide a service. And the service is taking care of your so-called unwanted animals. There's a cost for that. We were said, well, we're just supposed to take them without getting paid. What world is that reality in? I don't see it. You know, if you get a service, somebody comes and does your lawn, I would think they'd expect you to pay for it, right? Okay. Excuse me. And I was just wondering if you require all of this of all of your vendors. Anybody you contract with or services or anything, do you ask for all their budgets? If not, why are we different? It seems, from what I get out of the comments, that some of you may think we're part of the city. That's the way that the focus is, or that we're some kind of charitable organization. None of that's true. We are not part of the city. The budget that we were sent is a city department budget. We're not a department of the city of Wisconsin Rapids, never have been. We're an independent organization. This one's gonna be a little more tough, but I was just kind of amazed then at the lack of preparation and meeting prior to these, getting facts to the council. I don't know what happened, but, you know, at the meeting, not knowing the numbers even, and having to come up with 34 animals when it's 385, to me, that's not a good sign, that the council isn't aware of a lot of these facts, or that the council didn't go look for some of them. This came up last year when we were here, and I've told everyone here what went on, and you had a whole year to figure this out. But when does it come up? I think this alderman said, well, yeah, 9th hour. Now all of a sudden we're looking at this. We only have this short time to find something. This should have been done a long time ago. You also, and this is not going to be bad, but you budget $147,000 for the zoo. Now, I have nothing against the zoo. I've been there, I've taken my grandkids there. The zoo is great. And I'm glad that you see that. But there's a benefit also that. But I'm wondering why the zoo is more important and getting double the money from you, and yet you can't come up with half of that for us. I'm kind of puzzled by that one, and I guess if that's what you want to do, well, I'm not going to argue with you. I gladly support, and I'm glad you do fund the zoo, by the way. Then it's like, where are your priorities then as community leaders? Those don't go hand in hand. Now, I can go on and on, I guess, and whatever, but here's the bottom line. After the stuff, like I said last year, I actually took in what two of the council members had all these questions, and I said, you know what, I can see their point, so I'll look. So then what I did is kind of commissioned a study, and we went nationwide just to see what is fair. What do other municipalities and humane societies charge and pay nationwide, not a little piece of the one state. We came up with 3 different methods they use. The first method is, pretty much what's common, is they charge per resident, a fee. And I found this incredible, but the average fee is $10 a resident. So I looked and said, well, we have 18,000 about. I don't think the city's going to pay us 180,000, which I know you wouldn't. Even if you reduce it to $5 a citizen, you're still paying 90,000, and you're not going to want to pay that one either. The next 2 are user-based systems. So it's based on the use and what it costs to do something. Now, both of them had a little different stuff, so I took both, created like a hybrid model. And I didn't use 1 year, I went back 3 years. So it would account for any spikes, like some of the smaller places, they may get 10 animals when they normally get 1 a year. 1 year they get 10. So it wouldn't be fair to gouge them either. Yeah, did the animals come in, but even for Wisconsin Rapids, your animals fluctuate year. In the first year, you were over 400 animals. That can happen this year yet. So it's better to take 3-year average. What we did is then we asked the board, or first off, we got the 424,000. Now this was all, I hope you all got it in your packet in your letter that I sent to every municipality. 424,000 is the average cost for 3 years to run the shelter. So we took that and said, okay, the municipalities portion, all the municipalities, we're only going to charge them 25%, which came out to $106,000. So then what we did is we went back in our records and we went through all 3 years of tracking every single animal that came into our shelter and left. That's why I know the numbers are accurate, because we had to hand count this stuff. And it's in the computer. So these are accurate numbers. The average for Wisconsin Rapids, again, is 385 animals a year. Then you add in extra services, as you know, that you require of us in your chapter 25 of your ordinances. You want other stuff to do, that's fine. You're not the only one. There's a couple other municipalities do that, and we charge them too. By using this method, each municipality is paying their fair share this time. I will admit, last year, that was not true. That is why we cut 10,500 out of our proposal to you. And we shifted that, just to make things fair. So yes, we do listen. And we did do something. As it stands, I don't understand your system, actually, where this is. I'm told the contract is gone for next year, and you're submitting out the bids for $25,000, I guess. You are going to have a hard time doing that, because by state statute and your own ordinance, animals can only be turned over or impounded to an officer or humane society. So you will not be able to go private doing that on your $25,000 bid at all. I think I'm repeating that, but I want to make sure you understand that. You can't do it. And I don't know if the chief knows, I know I don't know. What happens if you violate an ordinance or a statute of government? I think the city attorney might know better. As it stands, our contract, I don't know, do we have to rebid it, or what do we do? We sent you a contract offer. I guess the ball's in your court, whatever you want to do with it. We are not going to reduce it, and we're certainly not going to bid 25,000. That is not going to happen. I'll guarantee you that. The board has voted already. Our board, sorry.
All right.
So, whatever
Thank
you
you.
want to do with that. Now I'm done with the Humane Society part. Now I'll take my 3 minutes. Is that okay? As a citizen? No? Okay. Yes?
I think I would like other people to have a chance to speak now.
Okay. Then I will reserve my comments.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Elizabeth?
Good evening. Thank you. I'm Elizabeth Whalen. My address is 211 15th Avenue North in Wisconsin Rapids. First of all, once again, I'd like to thank you. I know staff and everyone has put so much time into putting together the budgets every year and all that you guys do as council members, and I certainly appreciate all the work. I have multiple different kind of hats that I wear, and the first one is I run an animal business, and I would just like to say that I think that a lot of times when I'm out, it's kind of funny. People will be like, "Oh, I could do your job," and that, "Oh, I'd love to do that. That's sounds fun." And it's like, "Oh, yeah, Christmas morning." And my kids really thought that was fun. What I want to say is that I think historically people undervalue the work that people do with animals. And I want you to think about that. I also want you to think about what parameters you are asking for animal control. What specifics? I mean, you are expecting people to provide for you. I haven't seen anything about that. I haven't seen, because I know that I wouldn't take up that $25,000 and provide animal control. I wouldn't take in animals that I wouldn't know what their rabies or distemper or, Bordetella stasis is. That's what the Humane Society does. They take risks with, taking in these different animals, and I think they've provided a good service for the city. I don't consider us idiots for paying that fee. I think I have come across a lot of different animals in our area and brought in different animals, and I appreciate what they do. So that's my 2 cents on that. Also, one of the things I would like to highlight and bring up was so we have the increase in the stormwater utility fee, and I'm okay with that, because you know me, I'm okay with that. But I'm wondering, I'd like more discussion on what's going to be happening with the transportation utility fee. And is there a reason that we can't go to something like the stormwater utility instead, to circumvent that legal issue? Because darn it, I really like the idea of there not being special assessments, and I think a lot of people did, and I know you guys, probably appreciated not hearing people crab and moan this past, couple years about, getting those big bills. So I really would like to see us, really continuing to look for something along those lines to spread those fees out, and that a little bit more equitably and a little bit, easier on the property owners. So that was it. And you can always, increase my, my favorite funding to the library and to the parks and stuff. But thank you. Those are my, kind of couple of things and stuff. So appreciate all you do. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Would anybody else like to speak to the budget?
My name is Kelly Anhalt. I am a certified veterinary technician at Animal Medical and Surgical.
Can you make sure you're speaking into the mic?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I don't do public speaking.
Yeah, no problem.
My name is Kelly Anhalt. I'm a certified veterinary technician at Animal Medical and Surgical. I also previously worked for the Southwood County Humane Society many years ago. My concern going forward with not having the budget as requested by the Humane Society is not just for the animals, but for public safety as well. I have 2 small children, and I've been bit by a cat, and I've been hospitalized for it. Cats reproduce at such a rate that it is exponential. 1 to 2 cats can turn into 24 within a couple of months. I have feral cats near my property. So now, what if my son goes outside? I don't have anywhere to trap them and take them anymore, because at $25,000, there's not someone that's going to do that. If you want to bid that out to Joe Schmo, whatever, and he puts a barn up and puts them all out there, they're very likely to be mistreated. And that is a large concern to me, obviously, but another thing is, you said $76,000 is, we're just stupid for paying that much. Beaver Dam pays $60,000. There's plenty of and they're only slightly smaller than us. And if we are stupid for paying that, why can't we represent what everybody else should be? Our parents always told us if your friends jump off a bridge that you shouldn't do it too. Just because everybody else is doing something different doesn't mean that we have to. Our Humane Society provides a lot of service for our community, including, a lot of volunteer programs, things like that high school students need, and there's not a lot of places that high school students can volunteer, but the Humane Society allows that. And unfortunately, not offering them an actual amount of money is going to ruin the relationship in the city and the Humane Society. No, we're not mad about it, but it's always going to have kind of a bad taste in the back of your mouth about it. So, yeah. As a vet tech, and I've talked to my boss, veterinarian, we legally cannot do anything to an animal that comes into the clinic as a stray until the Humane Society authorizes that, which includes if the police bring me a dog that's hit by a car, I can't do anything. I can't even place an IV catheter for pain medication until the Humane Society says something to me. I personally have had stray animals die in my arms. I don't wish that upon everybody else, but if we have animals running rampant, it's going to start happening. And I don't think any of you want to watch a cat or a dog die in your arms. So, do with that information what you will.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak about the budget?
Hi, my name is Jessica Wiseman, 1710 24th Avenue South.
My husband and I are new homeowners in Wisconsin Rapids. Just in August, we closed on our home and we got a new puppy from the Humane Society. And, you know, it seems like such a small amount to pay as a city to know that if my animal goes missing, I can call the Humane Society and say, oh my God, my dog ran off, it slipped its leash, whatnot. If they don't have the budget, if they don't get a contract, as a homeowner, who am I going to call? Am I going to be calling one of you? Am I going to be calling some random stranger who I don't know anything about to have to give them my personal information, such as a phone number, my address, my animal's information, and then hope and pray that I get my dog back? Or, you know, if they truly are only getting $25,000, how is my animal going to be treated when they're being held for potentially 7 days? My dog has a congenital birth defect. She may need surgery real soon. So if she were to slip out, is she going to be getting let out enough? Is she going to be housed in a way that is sanitary? You know, for $25,000, I have my doubts because I work at the Humane Society, and for $76,000, we do our very best. And sometimes there are bouts of upper respiratory infections, kennel cough, all of that goes through. And even with us doing the very best that we can, it still happens. So for someone doing this for $25,000, are they going to be keeping animals alive? So it doesn't seem like that big of a difference between $25,000 and $76,000 to be able to keep the city's animals alive and healthy while they're strays so that they can potentially be claimed. And if they're not claimed, to be healthy enough to be adopted out to someone who wants to love them.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak to the budget?
I technically yielded some of my time to the gentleman here, so I will be brief. But
Thank you.
now that you know, from the information presented here, from the information presented the other night, from the information presented in the Daily Tribune article, which I hope you all read, now that you know that some of the information that was provided was incorrect, that it was false, that the cost is comparable to other cities, including Marshfield, and probably less than Marshfield is paying, and considering that this is a health and safety issue for our community, for the animals and the people in our community, why wouldn't you revisit this decision? It's a no-brainer. I hope you will do what is right for this city, reconsider this decision, and accept the contract that was submitted by the Humane Society. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak to the budget? Go ahead.
I'm Bill Giretti, live 21 13th Street South. I also just wanted to mention that with what you're paying, do you realize that a lot of the coworkers or the workers and community members will donate their times for special needs strays that need 24-hour care, and they take them home, foster them, and take care of that at no extra cost to you as well? So that's it.
Thank you.
My name is Megan. I live at 740 18th Street South in Wisconsin Rapids. I am basically the only thing close to animal control right now. I have a coworker that gives me breaks every once in a while. I wanted to make the point that we have many times where we directly reunite strays from the city of Wisconsin Rapids that are not listed in the report that you receive, because the report you receive only lists the animals that enter our building physically. There are many hours that I spend on the on-call phone. If those were billable hours, you would be receiving a much higher bill than the proposal that the Southwood County Humane Society has proposed for their budget needs. We don't have that data because We have not sat down to look at how many minutes we spend for some calls, how many hours we might spend for other calls. But those are services that, who is going to take that on? I know Tim referenced the chief of police, the police department, the dispatch center. Are you going to pay for extra dispatchers? Those are things that at $25 per day per boarding, which is what I've been hearing is the quoted request from the city, it doesn't really cover the actual number of animals. If the police department were to then transport the animals to whatever facility, we take a lot of time to get them directly back to owners. Your strays that will enter a different facility are going to be much higher than what you currently have in your records from this past year, because we work very hard to get them back to owners, because we see parvo. We see Panlucan cats, which is the cat version of parvo. We do not want to bring an owned pet into our building, and whatever facility you may consider working with is going to run those risks and probably have higher disease rates, because we do our very best. And we also do our very best to reduce the numbers that enter our care. They are out there, they go back home. The police officers sometimes help with that, but we do a lot more, and you don't have those numbers. And I really wish that we could have known in advance. We could have put a different report together that would have included those numbers. If we were talking billable hours between the posts we make to get them home, between the phone calls we take to get them directly home, your bill would be much higher.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak to the budget?
Hi, my name's Rhonda Carell, and I didn't come planning to speak tonight, but I have to because I know what a hard job you have. I'm a volunteer at Southwood County Humane Society, but I come here as a human being that watches how hard the people at the Humane Society work and how hard they work to bring in volunteers. Every volunteer that they bring in helps to defray the cost to the city and to the other municipalities that are part of their, part of the animals that they take in Wood County. I just ask that you really seriously consider the cuts that you are planning on making at this point. It's detrimental to the residents. This is going to create a lot of problems between the Common Council, all of you, and the residents. It's going to cause hardship for the animals, and unfortunately, it's going to be very hard on the people that go to work every day out at the Humane Society and do this job for far less than anybody that is even working at McDonald's, I suspect. You have no idea the kind of compassion that it takes for them to get up and go in every single day. Please reconsider. Thank you.
Thank you. She didn't? You want her to come back up and state it? Yes. Would you be able to restate your address, please, ma'am?
My address?
Yes, please.
2320 Evergreen Avenue, Wisconsin Rapids.
Thank you.
I am outside of the city.
Anybody else wish to speak to the budget?
Good evening. My name is Leland Albrecht. I live at 443 Beach Circle. I wasn't going to get up and speak, but I've been listening to the comments. I think I want to say something. I know that the council, some members of the council wants to put this Humane Society animal control thing out for bids. I have one question to ask the Humane Society, because I don't know this. Who do you provide service to? What communities? Huh? So I mean, basically everybody in Southwood County?
Yeah,
I said basically everybody in Southwood County. Just not Southwood County, basically everybody in Southwood County.
except for Marshall.
So the point I'm trying to make is this. If you bid this out to some other humane society or someone else who's going to wants to take these animals in, who's going to deliver them? Who's gonna come and get them? They gonna come and get them? It's gonna cost you guys a lot more money than $75,000, I can guarantee you that. Mr. Hostins, you want your police officers driving to Neillsville to deliver animals? Or to Marshfield, or to Wausau, or to Adams Friendship, or to Wisconsin Dells? I don't think so. I think they better purpose served right here. I don't know whose idea this was to bid this out. Somebody up there had this idea, and it may have been a good idea, but I don't think it was thought through real good. $75,000 is a minor amount of money to spend out of a $42 million budget the city has. I do believe I asked Mr. DeSorsi if he had $50,000 he could come up with to make the budget balance, he could probably find it someplace. It could be somewhere in the city's money. All I'm saying is, this is a mistake. You want wild animals running around here with nobody getting them, taking them? Dogs? Could be vicious dogs? Out of control dogs? I don't think so. They provide a service. No other service than the police department does, the fire department does, the city department does, for the snow plowing and so forth. They provide a service for the city at a pretty reasonable cost to the city. And that's all I'm going to have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak to the budget? Okay, then I am closing the public hearing at 6:36. Thank you, everybody. Item number 4, continued discussion regarding the 2025 City of Wisconsin Rapids budget. Council, Mr. Delaney.
Okay, this is concerning the Humane Society. That's all we talked about tonight. Well, a little bit about the library, but not much. I'm really glad that you guys all came. This is really how government should work, where citizens get involved, they find out the facts, and they have a discussion. Each of us up here, I think I can speak for everyone up here, we're just like you. We're citizens of Wisconsin Rapids. We want to make good, equitable decisions for all of our residents. Let me start by asking this question. Who here believes that a product or service provided by any company should be the same quality and cost to all customers? It's reasonable, right? Like, who would disagree with that? For example, if you owned a burger stand and you charged $5 a burger to customers, but if somebody pulls up with a Minnesota plate on their car, you're charging them $20 for the same burger. Would you believe this is fair? No, I don't think that anybody would believe that's fair. Last year, I added up all the animals dropped off and the ones picked up by residents of other municipalities who also contract with Southwood County Humane Society. Their average, according to documents submitted by the Humane Society, is $69.71 per animal. Then why, if you are a Wisconsin Rapids resident, would you have to pay any more than that amount? Last year, according to documents submitted to our city from the Humane Society, we received 324 animals in a 12-month period. This is an average of $266.98 per animal. Wisconsin Rapids is paying $197.27 more per animal than the average of all the Humane Societies contracted with the Southwood County Humane Society. Who thinks this is fair to the residents of Wisconsin Rapids? What would be fair to the citizens of Wisconsin Rapids is a contract that certainly pays the same as other municipalities and is equitable. And I don't think anybody disagrees with that. I am the alderman that had reached out to other municipalities last year and also spoke with humane societies. I do not have that complete list because I cannot find my notebook. I was requested, but I do have a partial list of the people that I spoke to and also looked at their budgets. City of Anago, they had a budget of $39,710 for a city pound. Rhinelander, 31,800. That goes to their Humane Society. I called the Oneida County Humane Society, which is the one that they get, and they said they get between 1,000 and 1,300 animals from the city of Rhinelander. I spoke with Jenna there. I reached out to Germantown. Germantown pays the Humane Society an average of the last 2 years for animals. 2024 budget was $2,000. I spoke with the finance director there. The very wealthy city of Middleton has no budget for animal control. There I spoke with Bill Burns. I believe he is the finance director. And I would think that if you would add up the average of all other municipalities and multiply it by the 324, it's only $22,500. So I think that's fair to the citizens of Wisconsin Rapids. And that's all I have.
Well,
That's up to,
do you want to field the question?
I'll take questions. I love debate.
Thank you, Patrick, because I had asked you for that information before. So can I point out a question? Because some humane societies, like down in Middleton, they are in Dane County, I believe, correct? Okay, and I think it's kind of how you compare things and maybe a little bit of information. I believe that Dane County, as a county, takes care of their humane society and animal control needs. So individual cities and municipalities, I believe, in that county wouldn't need to have their, separate budget for it because it's actually part of the county budget. Does that make?
Out of most of the budgets that I've ever looked at, whenever there is an expense like that, it is still under that account. So it
Okay.
would go under animal control of some sort.
Interesting.
And I did
Okay.
call and talk with, which Middleton you're talking about?
Yeah,
Bill Burns.
Middleton,
I
yeah.
spoke with down there.
Who
So
did you speak with?
Bill Burns.
Bill Burns, okay. Okay. I'm just curious because I know, there's so many different ways to run things. And when you mentioned like up in Antigo, the city pound, is that what I didn't quite hear you as well.
Yeah, that was under their published budget.
Okay.
I don't have here that I had talked to anybody. This is from their budget.
Okay. But a city pound is a very different entity than a humane society. A lot of times in my experience, city pounds basically only hold animals for like 7 to maybe 10, maybe 14 days. And then those animals are euthanized. And, so I mean, that's a very different, sort of comparison and that. And once again, I question, and I know I'm taking up your time and I shouldn't be because we finished the public hearing. But once again, I feel like we really need to have more, more planning on what you are thinking about looking for. I mean, it's not just the money, it's what services are you planning on, on directing this $25,000 towards? And that, because that's, if you're looking for a contract, I want to know who's going to provide that, what are they going to provide, how are you going to, to check on that, what sorts of licensing are they going to have, are they going to be inspected, that sort of thing. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. One thing I did want to, and I am, honestly, I'm like anyone in the audience here. I'm not any smarter than anybody here. I'm just a regular citizen. I think that most of the people here are the same way that are up here. And we just wanted to have a fair deal for our citizens. We don't want to look at other municipalities and say, hey, what's the deal here? This makes no sense. And then we get some numbers from the Humane Society that says that their average over the past few years is 385, which I find strange because in 2021, we had 291 animals. 2022, we had 284 animals, and according to our paperwork, we had about 324 animals last year. So I'm not the greatest at math, but I don't understand how that these are from the documents submitted by the Humane Society to the city of Wisconsin Rapids. So also we're told a lot about the pink slips. I don't know if anybody has seen the pink slips here. So these pink slips, they're supposed to track the dogs. And I mean, if we're paying a per animal fee, which I think is the best way to go, is to pay a per animal fee for the city of the citizens of Wisconsin Rapids for their stray animals. A lot of these animals are dead on arrival. Get a pink slip for that. If you look at page 10 of this sheet that was sent to us, there's 9 of them there.
Hold on.
And also there's, on these pink slips, there's pickups from Nakusa, Grand Rapids, Town of Hanson, someplace that's a mile south of the city limits. There's some from Buren and also Grand Rapids. So I would think that their paperwork would be more accurate to reflect the charges that are being sent to the citizens of Wisconsin Rapids.
Patrick, do you want to acknowledge the person with their hand up or no?
Sure.
Person with their hand up, you can step forward, please. The lady in the back here, I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
Our animals do not arrive dead. We've had one animal that has passed away from a hoarding case because other dogs beat on it. That is one animal. And you want to talk about fair for the citizens? What about a fair thing for the animals? What makes them less deserving? That's all. Thank you.
Hold on, ma'am. Can you state your name and address, please? I appreciate your time up there. Thank you.
My name's Novalie Davis. I live kind of on the edge of Rapids. It's technically a Plover area, but I work at the Humane Society. My address is 3560 Patty Drive,
Thank you.
apartment 8.
Okay, thanks. Counsel? Oh. You'll keep it brief, please, Tim? Thank you.
Now you want my name and address?
Sure. I mean,
Yeah.
if,
Tim Kriz, I'm speaking as a citizen this time, 2720 Bull Circle. The numbers, maybe Alderman Delaney probably wasn't listening before, but I said last year, you had wrong numbers. I admitted that. And that's why we went and redid everything. Okay? Understood now? The numbers you have now are factual. 385. That's the average. We counted every single animal. As I explained at the last meeting, we have records that are called A&D sheets, admission and discharge. Every animal that comes into our shelter gets that. It's when they came in, where they were located, if there's an owner, and when they're released. Those are the records that are sent to you. They were sent to City Hall. As I mentioned, I don't know where they go. I drop them off at the clerk's office. They said they're going to file them somewhere. So those are the proper numbers. This per animal, this things with all these other, to be honest, it's all smoke and mirrors, really. These other municipalities, okay, what services are provided? Do you know all the services? Do they have on-call? Do they pick up deceased animals? What do they all do? I know what you're saying is you feel it should be just a pickup for a stray. That's wrong. Then I would say, yeah, you're correct. If you just say pick up for a stray, what do you do with it then? That's your animal. By your ordinance, you own that animal for 7 days. Who's going to take care of it? You think your proposal is $65. You go to a private boarding place, their fee is $25 now. It's going up to $30, by the way, next year. At 7 days, it's really simple math. It's $210 an animal. Do you honestly think somebody's going to take it for $65? That ain't going to happen. We will. And our contract is fair. You can talk about all the other municipalities you want. It doesn't matter. What matters is what's here in Wisconsin Rapids and what's good for the citizens of this city, not Germantown, not Rhinelander, not anywhere else. This is a fair deal. You're getting a big break, a huge one. All the care we give. So all these other numbers and things, even the ones I presented, do not matter. The only ones that matter is, here's your contract. If you want to try it, I'm not opposed to it. Like I said, you want 30, 60, 90, however many animals running around, go ahead. Because you know what's going to happen. If you don't have anybody to take them, I'll be honest with you, if we don't have a contract and we get calls from the Humane Society, we're just going to tell the people, call your alderman. Take the dog over by their house, or a cat, or whatever you got. That is your choice. It's your animal. You run the council. I don't think you want that. This is a pretty easy, simple choice, really. And I will guarantee you the majority of residents in this city will spend $4.22 a person to provide services. If you don't think so, I guess maybe I would wait and see what happens in the next election.
Thank you. Any other council members? Justin? Hold on 1 second, ma'am. Go ahead, Justin.
You can let her go if you want.
Sure, I already called on you.
Okay, all right, then if you're calling me, I'll go ahead.
All right.
All right, so I'm firmly against the cuts to the Southwood County Humane Society. This organization does more than basic animal control, and since I was on the board, on the council in May, I've gotten a few emails and constituents contact me about certain issues. But since the issue of the Southwood County Humane Society has become an issue, I've received several emails from constituents, several phone calls. And in those emails, I've learned that Southwood County Humane Society goes beyond just sheltering animals. It actively addresses the root cause of our overpopulation through education and affordable spay and neutering programs, by also assisting responsible pet ownership and reducing the number of unwanted litters. Plays a pivotal role in keeping our community humane and responsible. Supporting these efforts may mean fewer strays and more of a sustainable future. While we can twist the numbers all we want, $76,000 is still a significant investment, but fostering a responsible, healthy pet population can reduce the long-term strain on our local resources. So, and Southwood County also has a special place in my heart. The best dog I ever owned, Otis, was adopted from the Humane Society. So I support revisiting this and looking at what that $76,000 does and provides to the city of Wisconsin Rapids. Now, the city of Wisconsin Rapids has done a great job budgeting this year. We're $2.2 million less than what we were last year. So I think $76,000 we can find and we can invest in this resource.
Can you come up to the mic, please? Maddie, you're next. I'm sorry, I never see your hand.
I guess it's behind the thing. I
Yeah.
have a really quick one. In regards to the comments from, again, I don't do public speaking. Anyway, in regards to the numbers that Mr. Delaney had from other counties and municipalities, all that, nothing in that represents how many animals are in that facility or in that area that need care. So that's something a lot more to consider than just, oh, they only pay $2,000 to theirs.
Thank you.
So I took over at the front desk in the Humane Society at April. And when we went through and Tim came to me and said, look, I'm looking at redoing these contracts, I went through personally every single animal over the last 3 years for every municipality. And I double checked the addresses and I did find a lot of errors and I corrected those errors so that the number that you are seeing, that 385 average, is the number of animals that actually came from Rapids. So all of the pink sheets that you have that maybe are from Grand Rapids or Buren or Saratoga or Hiles, all of that, that has all been corrected. And the average that you were given, that 385, is actually animals that all came from Rapids. That all was corrected. It took me 6 weeks, and I had to touch almost 3,000 animals total. So I literally went through and made those changes by hand.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
When was this completed?
It would have been completed several weeks before got the contracts out, I believe. So, yeah.
So
it
just
was like
recently.
Mid-September, yeah. Yeah. I was gonna say, I started it all like early August of this year, and so I went through from January of 2021 to December of 2021, and then I moved to 2022, and then to 2023. So the pink sheets that you have may not necessarily be accurate if you go back that far. I have not gone through 2024 yet as a whole to just triple check things. And, you know, the numbers that for 2024, I believe I gave them to Madeline, do not include all of the surrenders and whatnot yet, because I haven't gone through and hand changed all of those, because we weren't putting the jurisdictions in yet for those, you know, surrenders until the end of September, when we knew that those contracts were going to be changing for 2025.
Any other questions?
So are we going to get a copy of those corrected sheets?
Well, you wouldn't get a copy because it would have gone to another jurisdiction.
No, I'm saying for the citizens of Wisconsin Rapids, our municipality. The
As
ones
to
that use.
what? I guess I'm confused.
So we get
as to-
the pink slips, intake slips now, and the numbers just don't add up from those pink slips. Like I said, there's a lot of duplicates, which obviously you found, and ones from other.
Well, and sometimes we do
municipalities.
get, like, sometimes I'll be honest, we get an animal as a stray, and we know who the owners are, they're returned, and they come back as a stray the next day, or, you know, whatnot. And so sometimes there are duplicate animals within the pink slips because they came in multiple times, so I don't know if maybe that's what you're referring to.
I'm talking about the ones that came in on the same day. It's like listed multiple times in different pink slips. But yeah,
So I guess I
would
would
like
need
that.
to see an example to be able to further look at that, like, because there's so many animals. So the other thing is, typically the way that we rely, so I run those reports and then I hand them off to whomever is in the executive director's office to be able to send them out to the municipalities. Then we do rely on the municipalities to double check and let us know if we did maybe go through and do any errors. And then they typically will send us back that pink sheet. We will go through and recheck addresses, recheck the location that that animal was found in, and if we did make an error as to maybe it was supposed to be the village of Port Edwards instead of the town of Port Edwards, then we go ahead and we make that correction in the computer. We make the correction to their bill if they are charged per animal, and then we send that pink sheet to the correct village. So I guess if no one has been checking the Wisconsin Rapids, you know, pink sheets and slips and addresses and whatnot, you know, that double checking layer hasn't been there. So, you know, yes, do we make mistakes? Absolutely, we're human. But that's where that element from the municipalities needs to kick in, and they also need to be double checking that these pink slip addresses are actually in their municipality. So it does fall on us to be accurate, but unfortunately, we're also human and we cannot be accurate 100% of the time.
Okay, I was just asking for a copy of obviously there's some that have been found, because the number that we got and the number of pink slips that we got from you are 324 in a 12-month period,
So the new numbers include the surrenders. And surrenders historically have never gone to the municipalities because that was never part of the charges that municipalities were receiving for. And it's not necessarily that, you know, those municipalities shouldn't have been quote unquote paying for them, but just those animals are still coming through from those municipalities. And if we don't accept them as a surrender, those people are going to go and dump them.
I just like, no, what do you need from us?
I was just asking for those, because the numbers that we have from our pink slips are 324. You're saying that the average is 385. I just want to know, like, if.
So you want the last 3 years?
Yeah,
and
that's what you
yeah,
want
we
to
can
go
give you
off
those.
of.
If that's what you want, I don't mind doing that.
I think,
But
I think
you'll
that
get
would
the
be
total
fair.
numbers, you know, not, you have the original sheets at City Hall. So it's just-
Minus the surrender.
Minus the surrenders,
The
yes.
surrenders are the numbers that you
Those,
are
those are the
missing.
numbers that I'm going off from. Those are the sheets that I had.
Yeah, as I said, we didn't separate surrender from stray. Because if you don't, if we don't take in a surrender, it becomes a stray. You're gonna get it anyway. That's the way that works. It's unfortunate, but that's what happens. People dump the dogs. And we know that because we get a description when they call us and say, can I turn in my dog? No, we don't have room.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
So we'll get you just want the sheets, numbers.
Yep.
I'll get you those.
Madeline?
Thank you. So I appreciate that we all can admit when we made an error in talking numbers from last year and moving forward this year. I didn't have all of the information when I initially was on board with making the decision to decrease what we set aside for animal control to 25,000. I did take the time to look through the pink slips that were received from the city of Wisconsin, received from the Humane Society to the city of Wisconsin Rapids, and I did count them. So to do that, I went through, looked at when the animal was taken in, how long they stayed, and then came up with an average of length of stay. Because I believe that if we have animals that are coming in and staying for 7 days and becoming property of the Humane Society, we should be paying for 7 days. If we have animals that are coming in and staying for 1 day, we should pay for 1 day. I'm not sure exactly what that contract would be negotiated in terms wise. I want to try to stick to what we have in the budget, and then I believe finance and property would work on the contract portion. So for that, I would be in favor of increasing what we had based on the numbers in the pink slips. If we go with an average of the 3/4, our cost, that would be paying in a lump sum versus per animal, if we choose to do that again, would be around 44,000 or 45,000 using that $25 a day. I'm not sure where that came from. I heard that $25 a day came from somewhere, but we would be somewhere in that ballpark around 50,000. But I want the public to be aware that it's not setting that as the end. We, as a municipality, need to be prepared for the times that we exceed that amount of animals that we have. And we likely have that in the budget. So I do not want to restrict to the Humane Society, or not the Humane Society, any humane contract. I do think we should budget for a certain amount, but not restrict it to that, knowing that we may have to go into other funds to help pay for that. I don't think we should limit a number on our contract, technically.
Anyone else, council? Patrick?
Okay, I get this whole intake or surrenders that it becomes a stray. But I don't think that the citizens of Wisconsin Rapids are really responsible for somebody surrendering their animal. I'm 100% sure that's not in any statute anywhere. And I don't see why someone who wouldn't have animals would have to pay for somebody that does have a bunch of animals and takes them down and surrenders them at, it's like $200 each. I think that's a good discussion we could have. And as far as picking up goats and rabbits and reptiles and stuff like that, I also, I don't think that's should be part of the contract.
Council? Anything else? You guys okay? I don't know, in general. Yes, ma'am.
I neglected to provide first of all, my name and address earlier. I'm Tammy Paul. I live in the city at 210 19th Street North. So Mr. Pollock in your district. I grew up in the country. And these surrenders, if we're not responsible for them, they're not going to go away. Where I grew up, dogs would appear, puppies would appear that somebody dumped on the side of the road because they didn't feel like they could take care of them and they didn't have anywhere to put them, so that's what they did. These dogs and cats that are surrendered are not going to go away. If they can't be taken to the Humane Society, if nobody pays for them, they're going to be dumped somewhere else where they're not safe, where the people aren't safe, where we could end up with animals with disease, we could end up with the animals roaming around with nowhere to go. It's not an invisible problem, it's not something that's going to disappear. That's why the city should also be responsible for surrendered animals. It's something to keep in mind.
Thank you.
So thank you, Patrick and Madeline, for going through all of those sheets. I'm sure that was fun. One thing, so I am hearing that that there's some issues with record keeping. And I think that that is something that it behooves the Humane Society to work on better and make sure that their records are matching. I know we've had issues at the aquatic center with people being like, oh, I live in Wisconsin Rapids because their mailing address is Wisconsin Rapids, but they're not paying taxes for Wisconsin Rapids. And I would like to suggest that perhaps instead of us doing this, it seems like every year at the last moment before the budget, that perhaps like the Heart of Wisconsin has come and, given reports, that perhaps the Humane Society could come on a regular basis and give reports and have some of, the numbers checked throughout the year, rather than just waiting for all of this to kind of fall on everybody's shoulders at the last minute at budget time. So just kind of my suggestion. I think that maybe that would have some of those mistakes caught earlier, and then they wouldn't just keep building up and becoming a problem. And then we would have a little bit more fair, and equitable catching those, those people that are in, I don't know where, Seneca or whatever, that, that we're paying for because perhaps they have Wisconsin Rapids addresses, as their mailing. So, I think that's a fair point there. So thank you.
Thank you. So I think at this point, I would like to kind of close the discussion on the Humane Society. And I haven't heard any new motions as of yet. So therefore, right now, the motion on the table from the November 7th, I believe, meeting was to set the budget at $25,000 and put it out to contract. So at this point in time, if there's nothing else, then we're going to bring that to the council meeting on Tuesday. Mr. Pluis?
Can I make a motion after hearing the different numbers and the comparisons with the city of Marshfield and Stevens Point? I'd like to make a motion that we withdraw that motion from the last committee of the whole on contracting for $25,000.
I don't know if you would make a motion to withdraw. Tim, do you have some guidance on that?
Well, on the agenda, we have the actual committee of the whole reports, which is a committee for the council approves. So I think that when you take up those reports later in the meeting, that's when you would address that motion.
Okay. Okay, so then I'm closing the conversation on the Humane Society. I appreciate everybody's input. Thank you for being courteous and respectful to everybody here. I do want to ask the council if there's any other budget discussions that we want to talk about for the entirety of the budget before we move on to the next line item. Okay. Seeing none, then I am moving on to item 5, consider for adoption the actions of the Committee of the Whole as follows. Item A, Committee of the Whole meeting held on October 24th, 2024.
I'd like to hold out B.
All right. Mr. Cattenhouse is holding out. You want to hold out item B?
Yeah, I mean,
I was taking it one at a time, so I guess item A right now is that right? Item A is what I'm talking about? Committee of the Whole meeting held on October 24th, 2024. What are your wishes? Like, we're looking to accept the minutes and moving it forward to the council meeting on Tuesday, right?
No, since this is a council meeting, you'll be dispensing with these reports tonight.
right.
Okay.
That's why I'd like to hold out B.
Okay. So right now, okay. So then we're handling A and B at the same time. I was handling just A at first. And if you're looking to,
No, I thought A is, well, no, we're considering them and then, so then we have to go, we hold out part of the minutes. Correct?
yes, so A is the minutes for October 24th, 2024.
So
So
you-
if there's a specific line item within those minutes that we want to hold out,
That's what,
we could do that. So right now for item A, the minutes for 2024, October 24th, what would your wishes be for those minutes?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion by Palmquist.
second.
I have a second by Veneman. Any further comments, conversation about the minutes of October 24th?
Where are the minutes?
It's on page
In the
2
packet.
of the public meeting notice. for-
Because the agenda was the same as just general budget discussion.
Hmm.
I thought we'd pick the relevant date that discussion happened, since we didn't take out department by line item.
It, so on the agenda for here, for B, the printed one that's on the table, then you go to the minutes are first items.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, I'm just saying, when we typically have committee of the whole meetings, the items are laid out, item by item. In the committee of the whole, we took up the entire budget each time instead of by department. So,
So, yeah, I guess,
I
I'm
guess
not sure
either
for-
one of them could be held out to talk about and make new motions on the budget, because they just said budget. They didn't say fire department, police department, HR. Because this doesn't these minutes don't function like a regular committee meeting would.
So if you look at B, it was moved by Delaney, seconded by Catnow to reduce the Humane Society by $76,000 in animal control. So that's an item in B, the minutes from the November 7th meeting.
Right. So,
Hold out that item.
but they're not. Okay, so in today's agenda, it's not listed B 1 through 8 technically. I don't know if so should I do B5, even though it's not on the agenda today?
I would say B3. You
Meeting-
pulled out B3, because that's the one where, we talk about the 7-0 motion.
Well, I'm gonna hold out B3 then.
okay.
That's what you would do. Right.
So going back to A then, we have a motion by Palmquist, seconded by Veneman to pass all the minutes for item A, the minutes for October 24th. Any other conversation? Seeing none, go ahead and cast your votes. I do need to account, I guess. So all those in favor, raise your hand. Are you raising your hand or no?
No, because this is, I don't, this,
Okay. So Cat now is the only one with a abstention, or,
I'm abstaining, yep.
okay. And then we have 7 yeses. Did you have further questions about item A? Anything in the minutes?
I'm just confused by comments made that, so we're approving, you said we're disposing and approving these tonight.
Correct, you're approving the minutes of the committee of the whole.
Oh, just the minutes.
Just the minute.
And then the budget vote is at common council.
Correct.
Yeah.
Got it.
Good. Okay. Thank you for clarifying. So then that motion passed 7-1, 1 abstention. And then committee of the whole meeting, item B, committee of the whole meeting held on November 7th, 2024. What are your wishes?
So if we hold out B3, we talk about that item then.
So you'd approve
Right.
the balance of the report and then,
Yeah,
Yeah, so there should be a motion to approve the
the balance.
report with item 3 held out.
Okay. So what are your wishes for item B? Nope. If somebody's holding something out, did somebody officially hold anything out or not?
I'll hold out B3. if
Okay.
it's-
holding out B3, but we approved the balance of the report.
Yeah.
I didn't get there yet. I'm working on it. All right, so we're holding out B3 per Veneman. Anything else wanting to be held out? All right. So for the remainder of the budget, what are your wishes?
Motion to approve.
I got a motion by Ryan.
Second.
I got a second by Maddie. All right, any questions, comments about the remainder of the budget? Yes.
Okay, just to be clear, we can still make changes at common council, like. is
For the
that-
whole budget,
Yeah, that's what, we're just approving the minutes.
yes.
Okay, because the way you stated it, it sounded like we're approving the whole budget besides B3. So, all right, thanks. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm a potato head.
No, that's all right. I'm glad you clarified. Thank you. All right, so B3 is being held out still. We have a motion by Austin, seconded by Palmquist. And any other further comments about the remainder of the budget? Seeing none, go ahead and vote with your hands. All those in favor, please raise your hands. All right, we have a unanimous acceptance of those minutes. Holding out item B being held out by Veneman. Go ahead.
But the way I held it up because I thought we had to discuss it. So
Yeah, I
mean,
want-
this leaves this open to talk about the 44,000 that Maddie talked about, talk about other issues.
Go ahead.
So what I have for this item is, who's taking minutes right now?
Tim is.
Okay.
Thanks, Tim.
So I'm just gonna make an amendment to how some of the numbers are laid out. So I'm gonna motion to amend the budget for the McMillan Library Fund and increase the fund balance applied from 200,000 to 350,000 and reduce the budgeted amount from general property taxes from $1,169,263 to $1,019,263. So those two offset. So instead of borrowing money and paying interest on that for what the library will be funded with this year, I propose that it be used from savings. It won't be any changes to the revenues or the amount the library has to spend this year.
Mr. Austin?
We're talking about the carryover funds that were already allocated to the library that are under the library's jurisdiction to control. Is that what we're talking about?
Well, if you look at the budget, it says fund balance applied, there's 200,000. So in my motion, I'm suggesting that we move that up to 350,000 from 200 and then reduce general property taxes by that same amount.
I understand the move, but that carryover fund has been allocated to the library, which is under the library board's decision. So I don't believe that council can move on those carryover funds. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tim.
I'm not quite sure exactly what authority the city has as far as the carryover funds. I mean, but obviously, you know, once the money's appropriated to the library, it's under their control. So, basically what the council is that they set the appropriation through the budget process, and then once that appropriation is made, then those funds are directed by the library board.
Again, my point is that particular fund is controlled by the library board. It wouldn't be controlled by council. So, I mean, allocation, I mean, you can do what you want, but that fund particularly is no longer under council's control, is my understanding.
This is Sue. Yeah, that would be correct. Really, the extent of the council's control right now, or decision making, is on the appropriation that is given to the library. You're actually really not approving per se their budget. You're approving the appropriation, and they're showing you the budget to show how much appropriation they would like in order to balance their budget. So I would agree that that you could lower the appropriation, and then it would be up to them to determine how they balance their budget, whether to reduce expenses or take more from carryover. I don't think you can direct them, regarding their carryover funds and to what extent that they can use it, but you can reduce the appropriation.
Thank you.
So we don't state appropriation in here. That is under general property taxes, correct?
Right. What we're really appropriating to their budget is the amount of the tax levy that's going to support their budget.
Right. Okay. So is amending the budget not up to the city council? This is in the city budget. I can't make a change to how this is laid out here. Sue?
Well, I would say that that the library as an independent body is in charge of spending their money and deciding how it's spent. You determine the appropriation that the city will give it. And I think, the practice has been, I guess, the budget comes to the city, but really you have no control over how that's spent. That is clear by state law. So, and I think, as a courtesy or as just as part of, being part of the city, that's how it's been, that the budget has been presented almost as like a department, but actually legally and technically speaking, it's the appropriation that you're approving and each year, and you cannot tell them how to spend that appropriation.
Okay, well, what should I do with what I put on the floor then?
Well, I'm not. You can do whatever you want to do with the appropriation.
Right, but
if you want to, I'm sorry. What?
Okay, well, I'll give some background here. So, as was discussed at this meeting that I held out, the library has received funds from the city and the county, and over a number of years here, we have over appropriated money there, and it's built up to a savings account of around $500,000. They're borrowing, or they're taking $200,000 from that savings account this year for their operations to fund their budget. I'm proposing that since we allocated money there in excess in previous years to what was proposed on these budgets, that we reduce the appropriation or general property taxes this year and use some of those general property taxes that went into savings from previous years. So with that, I mean, the only thing that would change is, I guess, if I can't change the way it looks on paper, then it would still stand as the second part of my motion.
I think you just want to make a motion to.
I did make a motion. That's why I asked how to dispose of that then, if that is not applicable. Because I was told that I can't increase the fund balance applied. So,
Well, right, it's the appropriation. So if
what do I
you
do with
want
the
a
motion
different
I put?
appropriation,
right. So what do I do with the motion I put out there?
You don't have a
well,
second.
I'm trying to explain to you. You have control over the appropriation. If you want to change the appropriation from what's on the papers in front of you, then make a motion to set the appropriation at a different amount.
Okay,
I'm
just trying to do things the right way because I made a motion already, Sue. So I'm trying to dispose of that.
Mhm.
You don't have a second.
Yeah, there's no second.
You can just, nobody seconded it, so it lies. You can make a new motion.
Okay, that's what I was asking. All right, so I'm gonna make a motion to reduce the budgeted amount from general property taxes from $1,169,263 to $1,019,263.
I got a motion on the floor by Catnall.
If I may.
Yep, Mr. Austin.
So with that being said, that council doesn't control the carryover, it doesn't mean that the library board wouldn't consider using it. So I think the wiser solution to this would be to request or attend a library board meeting and instruct them to do so in lieu of reducing the budget, which would ultimately cause additional budget decreases from the county because of the way that is figured. So hopefully everybody here on council understands that. And I would not be in favor of this cut.
Thank you. Ms. Lewis?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't understand the need to reduce the library's budget. If you compare it to the 2023 actual budget, this at one of the taxpayers' portion, $1,189,569 was budgeted in 2023. This year, we have a budget of $1,169,263, roughly $20,000 less this year than in 2023. So I don't know the reasoning or the need to reduce the library's budget. They have had reasons, from what I understand, of staffing shortages is why they've had experienced less expenditures than what was budgeted. That money was put in their savings. Reducing their budget is somewhat of a penalty for being fiscally responsible. So I wouldn't support that either.
Mr. Catnall?
Okay. I don't know if everything's fully being understood here. So you're mentioning previous years' budgeted amounts. I mean, we could go back here. So those previous years, they budgeted and we appropriated to their budget, a sheet that looks just like this, but it was more than what they ended up proposing. So over time, the savings account has built up to the tune of $500,000. So even this year, there could be more carryover into a savings account. What I'm suggesting right now, because we're going to borrow money, the city as a whole, and part of that's going to go to the library. We could borrow $150,000 less, not pay interest on it. If the money that was budgeted in previous years is spent. And that's why I tried to change the numbers so that their budget remain the same. There is no cuts to the library. We just spend money that was spent or sent over there in previous years that wasn't spent instead of borrowing money this year. So that money is there. Yes, it takes an action from the library board to do it. They are already doing it for $200,000 of their budget that's in front of us this year. So when you increase that to 350,000 from savings and reduce it from the general property taxes, which would all prevent us from bonding for 150,000 more dollars and paying interest. Why would you pay interest on a loan when the money's available in a savings account? So there would no cuts to the library. I mean, what they've put forward would still be funded. I mean, they could even fund it more if they wanted with the savings, but I mean, their budget as it stands, if my first motion would have been valid, would have just changed the line item and where their revenues come from.
Tim?
Just so I'm clear, so if you're reducing the tax levy in the McMillan Library with your motion by 150,000, is it your intent then to increase the Public Works Construction Fund tax levy by 150,000 to offset the amount of the long-term debt proceeds in that fund? Or are you reducing the levy by 150,000?
Well, we wouldn't want to do that, right? So, I mean, I don't think, if we need to determine where the funds go right now, I'd say the general fund or Public Works Construction is that wherever the loan goes under.
Okay.
But I didn't think that was necessary to.
Well, I kind of have to, because our levy's gonna, you're reducing we have our levy limit where we're set at right now, then we'd be below our levy limit. So I guess my question is that if this motion were to pass, is it the intent to reduce the levy below the levy limits, or do you, like you just mentioned, that you wanted to use that to offset the long-term debt, and then I would recommend putting it into the increasing the tax levy in the Public Works Construction. Okay.
So it'd be similar, I believe we did this with the ARPA funds last year, right? Instead of the amount we bond for, we reduce from that.
Just want to make clear so I know.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Laney?
I find this interesting, but I'd like to speak with Ryan Austin if you'd like to talk to me about how it changes the county appropriation.
I wish I could tell you I'm an expert on this. It is quite complicated. But my understanding is that direct reduction in property tax correlates to what the county gives, and it's a 2-year kind of turnover. So my understanding is a reduction in the budget would translate potentially to a reduction in the county's allocation as well. Similar to what happened this year.
I would like to get more information on this. I don't want to second it and then have it voted down. I do think we could talk about this at the council meeting and get that answered.
Yeah.
It does make sense to take out a savings and not be taking out $2 million every year. Obviously, I just think that'd be good. We've been over the library budget quite a bit, so I think that if I could get those answers, I think that would be good, and then we can discuss this at Common Council.
Mr. Catno?
So I guess what's in question here is the county funding formula.
That's part of it, yes. That's part of the.
Yeah, so isn't that based off circulation?
It's based off of more than just circulation.
And when we choose to not pay the county taxes in lieu of overpaying more for the library than what the county would charge us if it were to fund the library itself, that 400-something thousand. So I don't think we'd be going below that amount, but I understand that there's more information needed. So, but in general, that is the direction I believe we should head. I don't know why we would borrow when there's savings available from previous years and funds not spent. I think we do that across the city, and it would save the taxpayers money from paying interest.
Mr. Lewis?
I guess this question's for Tim. The city of Wisconsin Rapids has a contingency fund, correct? And can you tell us what is currently in our contingency fund?
For the 25 budgeted contingency,
Yeah, for what's currently in our contingency fund.
for the budgeted contingency fund is 364,320. You know, and then also then we have our, you know, unassigned reserves that we have for the city that, you know, goes to help with cash flow. We also invest those proceeds and, you know, which then we have a budgeted interest rate on that and stuff like that. And then, you know, kind of to speak to like, you know, each year, like this past year, 2024, we had some debt proceeds budgeted for some street construction projects, but we, you know, it was in the budget, but then as we close out the year, we see, you know, how fiscally, if we had a good operating surplus, we use some of those funds to offset the need to borrow for that. So that's kind of an annual exercise I'd like to do.
Okay. I guess the point in asking that is that the city of Wisconsin Rapids has basically a savings account in the form of contingency. And we don't use that to pay down all our debt and take that, you know, continually reduce that contingency. So I see, even though maybe the library calls it's a savings fund or carryover, it's still in the form of a contingency. They may have unexpected expenses in the near future, and it would be wise for them to keep that contingency fund at a level that allow them to mitigate any unforeseen circumstances that would cause the budget to be larger than what it is, or what's budgeted for.
Mr. Austin.
Mayor, the assistant director for the library is in the audience. I would recognize her. She could maybe shed a little light on this.
Thank you. Yep.
Oh. Go ahead, Catherine.
Hi all. Hi all. I'm on Zoom. I'm at a library conference. Yes, you're right. The carryover is much like where extra at the end of the year funding goes into this different fund. Other departments, their end of year budgets go back into the general fund, but as Sue indicated, this is a state statute and the library board does have direct control over that. The library board is putting forth a significant amount of that money towards our operating, right? $200,000 is already in that budget. And I do want to give the council kind of a heads up that the library board has earmarked much of the remaining carryover for kind of large-scale capital improvement type projects. Like Maddie indicated last week, the library doesn't have a kind of a capital fund balance situation in the larger city budget like other departments do. But we do have a large facility, almost 50,000 square feet, and it was built in the 70s. So obviously there are projects that need to be taken care of. So the tentative plan is for the library board to put forth some of that money towards these extensive projects. So again, and one step back, the library board is the one who ultimately gets to decide how the carryover expenditures are spent. Say the council does do this reduction in our appropriation, obviously that's the will of the council, but that wouldn't necessarily mean that the library board would put forth the contingency money. Potentially we would cut services because as Jake kind of was talking about last week, eventually that large balance, which was built over kind of COVID and then as Justin indicated, like really major staffing shortages, it's going to run out at a certain point. We want to keep kind of 17% as an emergency situation fund, but using this as our sole, as a large source of operating funds is not sustainable and will definitely impact library services in both potentially the short term and the long term.
Mr. Delaney?
Hello, Catherine. I was wondering if you're going to be back on Monday.
Yeah, I am. The conference is through Saturday. And I would love to talk to anybody about kind of how we do receive funding through the county and, you know, how that would be made a little bit more complicated by this decision by council.
Sure. I'll see you on Monday. I'd like to have this conversation.
That sounds lovely.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Catherine. There's a motion on the table, no second, or was there? No. No second. All right, was there anything else in item B, the minutes of item B3, that anyone wanted to talk about? Mr. Lewis?
I guess I will make a motion to hold out the, in item B, number 3, the motion to reduce the Humane Society's budget by 76,000 and set aside 25,000. I'll make a motion to rescind that and set aside the original 76,000 that was originally budgeted for the Humane Society.
All right, so we have a motion by Pluis to pay the contracted amount of $76,000 to the Humane Society. I got a second. Well, yeah, you're right.
That's not what the motion was.
The motion was to rescind and replace it with a motion to fund the 76,000 that was originally budgeted for the Humane Society.
Tim, is that a sufficient motion? I don't know if we need to do the rescinding or if we just need
It should,
to. Go ahead, Sue.
no, you would not need to do the rescinding. He's just choosing how to dispose of that item by making a new motion, you know, confirming the 76,000, or basically not reducing the appropriation. So he wouldn't need to rescind the motion.
All right, so I kind of
But
spoke
simply
for you
state
there.
what-
Sorry about that. But so that's.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, so the motion that I kind of rephrased was valid to change it to 76,000 for the Humane Society contract. Yeah.
That's my motion to set aside 76,000 for the Humane Society.
And I got a second by Dennis. Any other questions or comments on the Humane Society? Mr. Austin?
I think I would just add, I mean, we've gotten a lot of information here tonight. I think there was some inaccurate information passed around, which led to some of the decisions that were made. I think what might have headed this off was a presentation by the Humane Society here related to their contract and an update to the updated numbers for their contract. It seems like, you know, expecting council to dig for the information for a contract that we're approving, I feel that should be presented. I mean, if you look around, we've got 3 new faces on this council from last year that have no idea that would be an expectation for them. So just moving forward, I think a presentation related to the actual data and the costs incurred would be very beneficial to these conversations to prevent, you know, potential cuts like this. Thank you.
So, we're voting on the minutes from the last committee of the whole. Yeah, so we're voting on the minutes for the last
November 7th
November
meeting, yep.
7th. And so then then this motion would be to approve, this would be for the budget. Now, so we could, at the next meeting, can we do another motion, or is that the final
Tim, what are your thoughts on that?
The final action on the budget will be Tuesday. There'll be a resolution to adopt the 2025 budget and tax levy.
Okay.
So that'll be the final action of the council.
So if nothing else is said about the Humane Society, then this would be the final action for the Humane Society contract. Maddie?
And just to clarify, this is a motion to reserve 76, set aside 76,000 within the budget for animal control services. We're going to handle how that contract is paid, if we have a contract, if we have bids, all of that through finance and property. So just in the budget, we'll have 76,000 for humane services, animal control services.
Okay, we need clarification then. Are you like setting aside 76,000 for humane services?
Simply, my motion is simply to set aside the original 76,000 that was originally set aside for the Humane Society.
Okay, so we're not necessarily approving a contract right now. Sorry,
No,
go
this
ahead.
would just set the budget for that line item to 76,000. And as you know, and obviously on Tuesday in the finance committee, you'll have the finance committee report, which has the contract
Okay.
as a line item in that
Okay.
budget, but this wouldn't approve the contract.
All right, thank you for that clarification. So right now.
You can.
We just clarified it though, yeah. So again, I have a motion by Pluis, seconded by Dennis. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead and cast your vote. Those in favor, raise your hands. Got them? Oh. Oh. Okay. All right, so then, all those opposed, I guess, we already know who was opposed to it, so. All those opposed, raise your hand, please. Huh? Oh, and Cat, no. Cat, no. 4-4. All right. I cast my vote to make it the 76,000. Please don't clap. All right. So then item B, we've talked through everything in item B3. So then that closes those minutes. Is everybody good with that? There's a few things in that item 3, so. All right. So that has been finalized. Tim, are you good? We can sit tight for a bit yet. All right. Item 6. Somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I got a motion by Austin, seconded by Penscover. All those in favor, raise your hands and wave. Thank you very much. Meeting closes at 7:48. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time.